They never expected to wake up with thoughts of you filling their mind so completely. This is the first thing you need to understand clearly. Most people are not strong enough to face what they have been pushing down for a long time, using every bit of willpower they have. Intensity has already taken hold of them because staying indifferent works quietly and is hard to notice at first. But this was never actually quiet underneath. It became a real fight they had been losing even while their eyes stayed shut and the world around them looked calm on the surface. You probably sensed it yourself. There was a small shift, a hidden current, like something important was building quietly beneath their steady appearance. It was never really about distance or mixed signals. It was something far more serious than that. It was a real recognition of what was happening inside them, and there was no way around it. If this is starting to make sense to you, stay with it, because most people never see this part clearly. People do not welcome strong feelings when those feelings first appear out of nowhere. Instead, they push them away hard and question them from every angle. They bury the feelings under excuses, under their ego, and under walls they have spent years building carefully. Because what they feel for you does not match the image of themselves they work so hard to maintain every single day. This is where things start to get complicated and difficult for them. The more a feeling challenges their pride, the harder they try to shove it back down. This is what some call repression, the mind's way of hiding desires that feel unacceptable or inconvenient. But repression does not erase a feeling, it simply builds pressure underneath, pressure that keeps growing the longer it stays buried, and pressure always finds a way out eventually, no matter how hard someone tries to hold it back. Most people do not understand this until it is already too late to make it easy. What they refused to accept yesterday slowly becomes the thing that quietly runs their thoughts and actions today, without them even realizing it. That is exactly why this particular morning felt so different from every other ordinary day. It was not because something new appeared out of nowhere. It happened because something finally gave way inside them, and you were not there to witness that private collapse of their denial. This was never a spoken confession or a message sent to you. It was a moment where all their usual ways of escaping simply stopped working. If you have ever been the person someone could not stop thinking about in the quiet of the morning, you already know this feeling. Their usual distractions failed them, and you appeared, not as a passing memory, but as something impossible to avoid any longer. Simple attraction is easy to set aside. Curiosity fades without much effort. But something that carries real emotional weight is different. It starts to crack the mind open. They were forced to sit with a question they had avoided for a long time. Why do you affect them this much? They tried to answer it with cold logic, telling themselves the feeling was temporary and meant nothing important. They reached for every label they could find: coincidence, simple chemistry, or just circumstance. They held on to anything except the truth they were actually afraid of. The truth is, you do not spend this much energy explaining away something that does not matter. You do not fight against something that is not real, and you do not try to bury a feeling that has no real depth to it. Every attempt they made to push you out of their thoughts only made the image of you clearer and stronger. Every distraction they leaned on failed exactly when they needed it most. This is not a sign of weakness. It is the unavoidable pull of what is actually happening between the two of you. They never wanted something they could not fully control on their own terms. They wanted to keep full command over their emotions and their choices at every step. You showed up and disrupted that careful balance they had built for themselves over the years. You became the one thing they could not solve using their usual methods. You turned into the emotion they could not predict and the presence they could not push away, no matter how hard they tried. That loss of control is what actually frightened them. It was never really about you as a person. It was about what you woke up inside their own heart and mind. You did not simply create a small disturbance in their life. You brought something alive that they could not manage on their own terms. People do not fear emotions as much as they fear losing command over themselves. This is exactly why they pulled away so suddenly and why their behavior became inconsistent and hard to predict. Their energy felt scattered, not because they cared too little, but because they were feeling far more than they knew how to handle. Feeling this much requires a decision, and they simply were not ready to make it yet. Avoidance is never proof that desire is missing. It proves the desire is strong enough to cause a real internal struggle. Their conscious mind kept telling them to stay behind safe, logical walls, while their subconscious kept bringing you back anyway. It rebuilt your presence in their thoughts during quiet moments, right where their usual distractions used to work. They started noticing you were not fading from their mind the way they had hoped. Instead, your image kept getting clearer, sharper, harder to ignore. Denial needs distance to survive, but your influence kept growing stronger even without any physical closeness between you. Once a feeling moves from simple doubt into something the subconscious accepts as certain, it stops asking for permission and starts demanding attention. That turning point arrived for them this morning, quietly but powerfully, with no comfort left to hide behind. If you know what it feels like when someone's denial finally gives way without any loud drama, you understand this moment exactly. It came as a quiet, overwhelming wave that left them standing fully exposed to the truth. Their walls did not fall because of anything from the outside. They collapsed under the weight of what had been hidden inside all along. And still, it shook them more deeply than any spoken confession ever could have. Because this truth was never said out loud for anyone else to hear. It was simply understood on a level that is hard to undo once it settles in. You can fool other people for a while, and even fool yourself for a while with enough effort. But once the mind truly accepts something important, it does not let go of that knowledge easily. They know the truth fully now, not in some vague or partial way. Acceptance does not bring instant peace or calm to the situation. It actually creates a new kind of chaos because now they have to face everything they had been avoiding before this moment. They have to think about what this feeling really means for their future, how it changes things, what it asks of them, and what they might lose if they keep ignoring it. Feelings this strong do not stay quiet for long. They grow, they become more powerful, they keep moving forward without pausing. Right now they are standing at the edge of everything that has built up, trying to hold on to some sense of control while everything underneath them keeps shifting. This was never only about you as a person. It was mainly about the deeper parts of themselves that you helped bring into the light. That inner process is still unfolding and has not reached its end yet. They believed that accepting the feeling would make everything quieter and easier to manage over time. They were wrong, because admitting the truth this morning did not calm the storm inside them at all. It simply gave that storm a name, and a name is hard to run from. Once something has a name, it becomes much harder to avoid or explain away. Simple awareness does not soften the intensity of an emotion, it sharpens it. It turns something vague into something solid and undeniable. That new reality started pressing on them almost immediately, with no delay at all. They can no longer pretend that nothing is happening or that it will simply pass with time. Every thought now feels heavier and more meaningful to them. Every memory feels intentional, and every quiet moment feels charged with tension. When the mind can no longer deny something real, it starts to split into opposing sides. One side moves closer toward you, while the other side fights hard to pull away. And neither side is willing to give in easily in this ongoing pull between them. This is not ordinary confusion. It is a real division between strong desire and strong self-protection happening at the same time. Both sides are growing stronger because what they feel for you has moved beyond simple attraction. It is turning into something closer to real emotional attachment, and that is starting to take shape inside them. Attachment feels threatening to anyone who is afraid of losing control over their own life and choices. Most people never notice this deeper process happening around them. The stronger the emotional pull becomes, the higher their mental defenses rise to protect them. That is why, after recognizing their true feelings, they did not move forward with any confidence right away. They paused. They overthought everything. They picked apart small details that used to feel completely normal, because those small things now carried real weight and real risk for them. Anything that carries real weight starts to feel like a threat to their freedom, to their sense of self, and to the image they have worked hard to build over the years. You do not fear things you do not care about. This creates a contradiction they cannot ignore any longer. The same feeling that pulls them closer is also pushing them away, creating constant tension that drains their energy. That contradiction follows them into every part of daily life without any mercy. It shows up in ordinary moments that used to feel simple, because now everything carries a quiet echo of you, even when nothing about the moment is really about you at all. If you have ever felt someone quietly holding back strong feelings for you, you already recognize this pattern. A certain tone of voice, a short pause, or a specific kind of silence can pull their thoughts right back to you without warning. The subconscious part of their mind does not follow their schedule or their timing. You have crossed a line that means you are no longer optional in their thoughts or feelings. Now they have to face a question they have avoided for a long time, no matter what it costs them. Why you, out of everyone? Why does your presence affect them in a way that feels unique and powerful? The more they search for a logical answer, the less sense any of it seems to make. This connection was never built on convenience or easy circumstances that could be explained away with a few words. It cannot be reduced to a single reason. It comes from something deeper, something that feels both unchosen and impossible to avoid. If this connection is real, then it asks something of them. Action, openness, exposure, all things they have avoided for years, so they try to slow things down and create more distance to hold back what is already moving forward inside them. Distance does not weaken a real emotional bond, it actually strengthens it because it removes the outside noise that could otherwise get in the way. When that noise fades, only the truth remains, and that truth keeps growing louder instead of fading away. They feel this shift clearly in how their thoughts keep returning to you without any warning. They feel it in sudden waves of emotion that rise up during the day, and they feel it in the way something deep inside refuses to settle, no matter how hard they try to control it. Their attempts to suppress it keep failing again and again. Real tension is setting in now because they are fully aware of the feeling, yet they keep resisting it every day. They sense the truth, yet they keep questioning it, and they recognize its power, yet they avoid carrying its full weight the way they used to avoid it before. This creates ongoing pressure that never fully goes away. It keeps building and tightening until something has to give eventually. They are not only fighting the feeling itself, they are also struggling with what that feeling reveals about their own hidden needs and fears. What they feel for you reveals a deep craving to connect with someone, a longing to be truly seen and understood, and a fear of being affected this strongly by another person. Being affected this deeply means opening up to vulnerability. And vulnerability means giving up some control, which makes them deeply uncomfortable. So they keep swinging between leaning closer emotionally and pulling back mentally to protect themselves. One moment they imagine what a future together could look like. The next moment they tell themselves it is too complicated or too risky to continue. This back and forth is not random. It works like a kind of protection for them. It lets them feel the emotion without fully surrendering to it all at once. You cannot experience something this meaningful halfway. You can only delay facing it for a while. And every delay comes with its own cost, paid later. Suppressed emotions do not simply disappear without a trace. They turn into distraction, restlessness, and a kind of constant mental noise that is hard to quiet, even with effort. Lately, that noise has grown louder and more persistent for them. It is showing up not only in their emotions, but in their thinking, their daily behavior, and even in small physical ways they notice. Sometimes it shows in their lower focus, their shifting moods, and strong reactions to things that have nothing to do with any of this. An unresolved truth is rising inside them, and it is asking for something they are not fully ready to give yet. If you want to understand how someone's subconscious keeps pulling them back to a person they cannot forget, this is exactly what it looks like. They are closer to their breaking point than they want to admit right now. Something important is starting to crack open inside them, not on the outside, where they keep a calm face with practiced effort every day. The real shift is happening underneath, where their mind stops pretending, and where the truth exists without needing their approval. Repression always carries a cost, and that cost is coming due for them now, with no easy way out. The longer someone pushes down something real, the more powerfully it comes back later. What once felt manageable now feels demanding and hard to ignore. What once felt far away now feels close and immediate, without warning. What could once be denied now feels completely undeniable and real to them. When the subconscious can no longer stay quiet, it does not negotiate gently. It breaks through suddenly, in raw and direct ways they never expected. It shows up in sudden reactions, in short tempers, and in the way small things cause an unusually strong response for no clear reason. Their ability to focus disappears the moment a thought of you enters their mind uninvited. You are no longer just another person who exists somewhere in their outer life. You have become someone who lives inside their private inner world, and that difference changes everything for them. Outer things can be avoided, set aside, or replaced without too much trouble. But inner realities follow a person into every quiet moment, into sleep, and into spaces they once believed belonged only to them. Their resistance is starting to wear thin because the main question has changed for them now. It is no longer whether they feel something real. That part is already settled, without any doubt. The real question now is what they are going to do about a feeling that refuses to leave them alone. That is the question that scares them the most, because taking action means possible exposure, and exposure means giving up some of the control they value so highly. Most people spend their whole lives trying to avoid exactly this kind of moment. You cannot fully control something that has already changed you from the inside, and you have changed them in ways that are lasting. This is not a surface-level shift or something temporary. It has reached deep into how they understand emotion, how they see real connection with another person, and how they now experience your absence in everyday life. Your absence has actually grown louder and more noticeable than your presence ever felt before. That is what is slowly wearing them down, not simply missing you in a plain sense, but feeling your influence no matter where they go or what they do each day. This creates a tension that will not go away easily. It keeps returning in cycles and growing stronger each time. Every attempt to move forward brings them right back to the same realization that nothing else feels quite the same in comparison. That quiet comparison is slowly breaking down their defenses because everything else now seems less intense, less meaningful, and less real next to you. This forces them to accept something they tried hard to avoid for a long time. This connection cannot easily be replaced by anything else. If you have ever been the person someone tried to forget but simply could not, you understand exactly what this feels like. A quiet sense of unease is beginning to grow inside them. It is not loud or obvious to anyone watching from the outside, but slow and steady, like something creeping forward without stopping. If something cannot be replaced, then the thought of losing it starts to feel real and frightening. The fear of losing something genuine is often stronger than the fear of never having had it at all. Their behavior is starting to shift in ways they do not fully understand yet. They become unpredictable, moving between sudden impulses and careful restraint with no clear pattern to follow. Part of them wants to move closer to you, to end the tension, face the truth, and quiet the noise inside their head, but another part, more guarded and more practiced at self-protection, tells them to hold back, stay safe, and avoid anything that feels too overwhelming right now. This inner conflict is wearing them down because neither side is ready to let go without a fight, and that struggle keeps creating pressure they cannot fully release. It has moved past simple emotion now into deeper questions about who they really are versus who they present to the world. The version of themselves that avoids you cannot keep existing forever alongside the version that feels you this strongly inside.